Picture this. A car that once cost as much as a small house, that CEOs and diplomats were chauffeured around in, now sitting on a used lot for the price of a decent laptop. Somewhere out there, a former executive sedan is having an existential crisis in a parking spot next to a rusty hatchback, wondering where it all went wrong. But here's the twist. These forgotten kings didn't get worse, we just stopped paying attention. Today we're counting down 4 executive sedans everyone forgot, and they're still incredible. Luxury that depreciated into pure bargain territory, engineering that refuses to quit, and comfort that still embarrasses cars twice their price. So before we crown the rest, let's roll up to the very first name on this list, and trust me, this one's been hiding in plain sight. Here's your number 4. Let's talk about the Volkswagen Passat, a car so quietly competent that most people scrolled right past it while chasing something with a fancier badge on the trunk. And that, my friends, is precisely the mistake, because while everyone was busy paying a premium for a logo, the Passat was out here doing the one thing an executive sedan is actually supposed to do, making you feel like $1 million without asking you to spend it. Here's the thing nobody told you. There was a version of this car, the flagship top-shelf Passat, that came with a smooth, silky engine, wood trim, and a cabin so hushed you could hear yourself think about all the money you didn't spend. It was a limousine cosplaying as a family sedan, and today you can pick one up for the price of a used lawnmower and a firm handshake. The depreciation on these things is almost offensive. A car that once wore a genuinely upscale price tag now sits forgotten in classified listings, waving at you like the last kid picked for the team. Except this kid grew up to bench press twice its weight. So, why is the Passat such a smart buy? Start with the way it drives. This is a car engineered on the same bones as its more expensive cousins, which means it soaks up rough roads like a sponge, glides down the highway at speed without a whisper of drama, and hugs corners with a composure that shames vehicles costing 3 times as much. The build quality inside is the real seduction though. Soft touch materials, seats that cradle you on a long haul, and an ergonomic layout so sensible you'll wonder why every other manufacturer overcomplicates things. The turbocharged engines punch well above their size, blending genuinely impressive fuel economy with a shove of torque that makes overtaking feel effortless. It's the automotive equivalent of the quiet person at the party who turns out to be fascinating once you finally talk to them. But, and every used car has a but, let me put on my serious face for a moment, because this is the part that separates the smart buyers from the sob stories. The Passat's biggest gotcha lives inside the turbocharged 4 cylinders, particularly the earlier ones. The timing chain tensioner on these can wear out, and in the worst cases let the chain slip, and when the timing goes, the valves and pistons meet in a very expensive introduction. The good news is the manufacturer revised that tensioner in later production, so before you buy, confirm the car has the updated parts or a documented replacement, and listen carefully for a brief metallic rattle at cold start. That rattle is the car whispering its secrets. Next, the cooling system. Many use a plastic water pump and thermostat housing that gets brittle with age and starts weeping coolant, so check for any pink crust or residue near the pump area and confirm the coolant sits at the right level. Then there's the automatic gearbox on certain versions. The dual clutch unit needs its fluid serviced on schedule, and a jerky, hesitant takeoff is your warning sign to walk away or negotiate hard. Finally, a quirky one. If you feel damp carpet in the front footwell, don't panic about the engine. It's usually just a blocked drain letting rainwater sneak inside. An easy fix once you clear the debris. Verify these few things, and you sidestep 90% of the horror stories. Now, here's why, despite all that, the Passat still deserves a spot in your driveway. When you buy one with a clean service history, you're getting a machine that was over-engineered from the factory, built to cruise vast distances in serene comfort, and capable of racking up well over 200,000 miles when it's looked after. Owners consistently praise the solid, planted feel on the motorway and the frugal thirst at the pump. You're essentially buying yesterday's executive luxury at today's economy car prices, and unlike a lot of forgotten cars, this one didn't get worse with age, it just got cheaper. That's the kind of math that keeps a smart shopper up at night, grinning. Which brings us to the next name on our list, because if the Passat is the quiet overachiever that slipped under the radar, the following car took a very different route to being forgotten. This one wore its ambition on its sleeve, aimed straight for the top, and left behind a reputation that's equal parts brilliant and misunderstood. Here's your number 3, and this one's gonna surprise the badge snobs. Imagine walking into a room full of people who paid a fortune for their fancy nameplates, and you casually mention you paid about half as much for something just as plush. And then you watch their faces do that little twitch. That, in a nutshell, is the Kia Cadenza experience. This is the car that showed up to the luxury party wearing a value badge, and instead of getting turned away at the door, it quietly stole the show. Most people don't even know it existed, which is exactly why it's sitting on the used market right now. Ignored, underpriced, and frankly, a little offended that you haven't noticed it yet. Let's set the scene. When this car arrived, it was Kia's bold declaration that it could hang with the big spenders. And to everyone's shock, including, I suspect, Kia's own marketing department, it absolutely could. Slip inside one of these and the first thing that hits you is how genuinely upscale it feels. We're talking soft leather, real wood-look trim, ventilated seats that cool your back on a scorching afternoon, and a hush inside the cabin that makes highway cruising feel like gliding across glass. The signature engine here is a smooth 3.3-liter six-cylinder, and it's the good one, the reliable one, the choice savvy buyers hunt for. It delivers effortless, refined power that never feels strained, the kind of relaxed muscle that makes you drive like a person who has absolutely nowhere to be in a hurry. The ride is soft and composed, the space in the back seat is limousine generous, and the whole thing was loaded with tech features that cost eye-watering extra money on the so-called premium brands. It's like ordering the house wine and discovering it's secretly a vintage the sommelier forgot to price properly. Now, before you go sprinting to the nearest listing waving your wallet, let me play the responsible adult for a minute, because this is where the smart buyers separate themselves from the tearful ones. The single most important thing you must do before buying any Cadenza is run the vehicle identification number through the official recall database. And here's why. Certain earlier model years were subject to a serious recall involving an electrical control unit that could short-circuit and, I wish I were joking, potentially cause an engine compartment fire even while parked. It's a genuine safety concern, but the fix is free at the dealer, so all you need is proof it's been completed. While you're at it, some early cars also had a recall for a windshield that wasn't bonded properly at the factory, so confirm that's been sorted too. Beyond the recalls, owners have flagged that the factory tires wear out surprisingly fast, sometimes needing replacement earlier than you'd expect, which can also hint at an alignment that needs attention. So inspect the tread and check for any pulling or vibration on your test drive. And as with any older car packed with electronics, spend a few minutes making sure every screen, speaker, and power seat control actually works before you commit. Verify those handful of things, and the horror stories simply never happen to you. Here's why, once you've done your homework, this car becomes almost irresistible. The Cadenza pairs that plush, big sedan comfort with one of the most reassuring ownership perks in the business, Kia's famously long powertrain warranty coverage, which on the right car can still have life in it. Parts are affordable, mechanics don't break into a cold sweat when you roll into the shop, and the six-cylinder engine has a solid track record for going the distance when it's maintained. You're getting a full-sized luxury cruiser, dripping with features, for the kind of money that barely buys you a stripped-out economy box elsewhere. It sold in modest numbers when it was new, precisely because buyers were too busy chasing prestige logos to notice it, and that collective blind spot is now your golden opportunity. Depreciation did the dirty work, and you get to reap the reward. And that's the beautiful irony tying this whole list together. Sometimes the smartest luxury is the one nobody bragged about. But if the Cadenza is the underdog that quietly earned its respect, our next contender played the game completely differently. This one came from a name that already dripped with prestige, wore its ambition proudly, and promised the world, which makes the way everyone forgot about it all the more fascinating. Here's your number 2. And honestly, this one has the audacity of a car that walked into a room full of German aristocrats and pulled up a chair uninvited. Let me paint you a picture. There's a full-sized flagship out there that was built to chauffeur company presidents, packed with a thundering 8-cylinder engine, reclining massage seats fit for royalty in the back, and a level of hush and pampering that went toe-to-toe with sedans wearing the most intimidating luxury badges on the planet. It cost tens of thousands less when it was new, and today, on the used market, it is depreciated so violently that you can buy this rolling limousine for the price of a well-optioned economy hatchback. The car is the Hyundai Equus, and the reason you've probably never given it a second glance is the funniest part of the whole story. People saw the badge, assumed budget brand, and walked right past a genuine luxury barge. Their loss is about to become your gain, with one very big asterisk we'll get to shortly. Let's start with why this thing is such a jaw-dropper. Slide into the back seat. Yes, the back seat, because this is a car meant to be driven in as much as driven, and you'll find reclining, heated, ventilated thrones with their own controls, a level of space that borders on comical, and materials that genuinely feel special. Up front, the powertrain is the showstopper. The later cars carried a big, silky 5-liter 8-cylinder engine that punches out well over 400 horsepower, delivering that effortless, seamless wave of acceleration that only a proper luxury flagship can serve up. It's the automotive equivalent of a butler who also happens to run a marathon. The cabin is whisper quiet, the standard equipment list reads like the options sheet of cars costing double, and the whole experience is deeply, unapologetically indulgent. For the money, there is simply nothing else that pampers you like this does. It's opulence with the price tag torn off. Now, and I need you to lean in for this part, because this is where dreams meet reality. The Equus comes with one enormous catch that you absolutely cannot ignore. That gorgeous cloud-like ride is delivered by an air suspension system, and on these cars, that system is notorious for failing as the years pile up. We're talking air struts that spring leaks, compressors that burn out from overworking, and height sensors that give up, leaving a corner of the car sagging onto its tire like it's had a rough night. And here's the gut punch. At a dealer, replacing these parts can run into eye-watering thousands per corner. So before you buy, you must inspect this carefully. Start the car, watch that it rises to a proper, even height, look for any warning light mentioning the suspension, and check whether the car sags after sitting overnight. The reassuring news is that specialist companies make a conversion kit that swaps the finicky air setup for sturdy conventional coil springs, permanently solving the problem for a fraction of the dealer's price. So a car that's already had that conversion is arguably a smarter buy. Beyond the suspension, listen for a brief rattle from the front of the engine on a cold start. The timing chain tensioner can bleed down overnight, and the fix is simply religiously changing the oil every 5,000 miles. Also test the electronic parking brake and every electronic gadget, since the actuators and various modules can act up. And do bear in mind that because these sold in small numbers, certain parts can be pricier and harder to track down. Verify all of that, and you dodge the disasters that scared everyone else away. Here's the thing though, once you accept that this is a car that demands a careful inspection and a sensible plan for that suspension, the value on offer becomes almost absurd. You are buying a certified luxury flagship, a car engineered to rival the most prestigious executive sedans in the world for pocket change money. The 8-cylinder engine is genuinely smooth and stout. The interior still feels like an event every time you climb in, and with the air suspension either well-maintained or converted, the ownership experience settles down into something remarkably serene. It's the ultimate insider's move, the connoisseur's bargain that lets you experience true luxury flagship while everyone else is still stuck making payments on a badge. Buy the right one, look after it, and you'll be gliding around in quiet, cosseting splendor that cost you less than your neighbor's mid-spec crossover. Which sets the stage perfectly for our grand finale, because if the Equus was the underdog that dared to crash the luxury party, the final car on this list took forgotten greatness to a whole different level. A name that once commanded serious respect vanished from the spotlight, and yet remains to this very day an absolute masterpiece hiding in plain sight. And here we are, number 1. The car that had the sheer nerve to look like it cost $80,000 while quietly ringing up for a fraction of that. Legend has it the designers took one long, loving glance at a certain hand-built luxury sports car, the kind driven by tuxedoed secret agents, and thought, let's give that grille to the everyday driver and see if anyone notices. Spoiler, almost nobody did. And that collective failure to notice is exactly why our number 1, the Ford Fusion, is sitting on the used market right now dressed like $1 million and priced like a clearance rack bargain. Here's what makes this the perfect note to end on. The Fusion is proof that upscale style and genuine sensibility can share the same driveway. The later models in particular wear a sculpted, sophisticated design that turns heads in parking lots where people assume you spent double what you did. Climb inside, and you're greeted by a cabin that's quiet, comfortable, and surprisingly refined, with supportive seats and a layout that never overwhelms you. On the road, it strikes that lovely balance between composed handling and a cushioned grown-up ride. Planted enough to feel confident on a twisty back road, smooth enough to melt away a long commute. And the engine lineup is where it gets clever, because there's a Fusion for every kind of buyer. The naturally aspirated 4-cylinders are the tortoises of the range, unhurried, unbothered, and famous for racking up serious mileage. The turbocharged versions bring genuine punch and pace, and the hybrid models are the frugal geniuses of the bunch, sipping fuel so gently they've earned a devoted following among people who like watching the gas gauge barely move. A well-kept Fusion can comfortably march past 200,000 miles, which for a car this handsome is almost unfair. But before you go falling head over heels, put your inspector's hat on, because this beauty has a few skeletons you must check for. The headline concern is the electric power steering, which on certain earlier model years developed a reputation for failing, sometimes suddenly, leaving the wheel heavy and hard to turn. It's serious enough that it was the subject of a recall, so your very first move is to run the vehicle identification number through the official recall database and confirm any steering campaign was completed. During your test drive, feel for a wheel that turns smoothly and evenly, and watch for any steering assist warning message on the dash. The second thing to hunt for is a recall involving a shifter cable bushing, where the car could show park on the dial without actually being in park, a genuine rollaway hazard, and again, easily verified as fixed through that same recall check. If you're eyeing one of the smaller turbocharged engines, be extra thorough about the cooling system, because some of those units were prone to overheating and coolant leaks that can lead to expensive engine damage. So look for a clean coolant reservoir and no sweet smell or residue under the hood. And on the automatic versions, insist on smooth, crisp shifts with no clunking or hesitation, and peek underneath for any transmission fluid weeping around the axle area. Nail those few checks, and the 90% of horror stories that scared everyone else off simply never touch you. Because here's the beautiful payoff, and it's the reason the Fusion earns the crown on this list. When you find the right one, ideally a later, well-maintained example with a clean recall record, you're driving away in a car that looks like exclusive money, cruises like a proper grown-up sedan, and costs about as much as a decent used lawnmower's fancier cousin. It's roomy, it's genuinely good-looking, it's cheap to run, and it holds the road with a maturity that belies its bargain price. Millions were sold, which means parts are everywhere and mechanics know them inside out, so you're never held hostage by a rare component. This is depreciation working entirely in your favor. Yesterday's stylish, aspirational sedan handed to you today at a price that almost feels like a clerical error. And unlike so many forgotten cars, the Fusion didn't lose its charm on the way down. It just quietly waited for someone smart enough to notice. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of our countdown. 4 forgotten gems that prove luxury, style, and comfort don't have to come with a terrifying price tag, just a little homework and a willingness to look where nobody else is looking. Every single one of these cars is a reminder that the smartest buy is often the one everyone else scrolled right past. So if this list saved you from overpaying for a badge or made you rethink that used lot you drove by last week, do me one small favor before you go. Smash that like button because it genuinely helps more clever buyers like you find this channel. Hit subscribe and ring that notification bell because we've got a whole garage of overlooked bargains, hidden gems, and cars to avoid exposés coming your way, and you do not want to miss a single one. And if you're already hungry for more, there's another video waiting for you right on your screen. Go on, keep the good deals rolling. Until next time, drive smart, spend less, and never judge a car by its badge. See you in the next one.